the floor plates, like I had mentioned, and I'm already actually started. I do have to find my tripod, but I'm going to show you guys how I plan on doing this. I have cleaned floors, like the sound deadening off before. I did a little bit on this already. Like I said in my last video, the 240 uses sound deadening like this, which the dry ice takes this right off, especially because it's only really stuck to here in this section. But like as you can see up here, I had dry ice and it really came off good. This stuff is the devil. And like I said, most of that's not going to be coming off. Like, it's too much work to get that pristine. So I just used a little bit of dry ice, got it cleared out. The seam sealer, what I like to do, that seam got a little bit separated, so what I'm going to do is hammer that back down, and I'll throw a couple of tacks there. But as you can see over there, there's a bunch of seam sealer in that corner. I kind of cleared that one out the other day when I was over there. But I just take a chisel like this, and I'm not a professional, but I'm learning along the way, and this is how I do it. And I just stick it in here and I chisel all this out, and like most of it, for the most part, comes off. Then you can go back. I'm gonna try this wheel. I never used something like this before on this, but I'm gonna see how well it does to try and clear this stuff out, because usually this stuff kind of gets hot and flings around. So we're gonna get all this clear. Here's the base plate that has to fit 6x6. You want to clear out a little bit past that, obviously. A, for your welds, and B, so it doesn't burn off around it and contaminate your welds. But that's what we have to make fit, and we're going to do that right now. Not sure if you guys can tell, I am like covered in gray shit, but most of the floor is pretty cleared up. I'm still getting in there. The phone just got bumped in the way, so I'm gonna stop filming that. But this wheel actually works great, and it was like $5 at Harbor Freight. Just to make note, you don't want anything that's gonna be sparking a lot. That means you're taking away a lot of material, and these floor pans are thin. And taking away a lot of material like that is just going to make it that much harder to weld the thin floor pan to your 1/8" thick plate, because you're going to be blowing through it. But I'm going to finish this up right now to where I feel comfortable welding it. Clearly we're going to have to build up these little V's. And this one unfortunately falls around the edge. I have it tacked in. Make sure you have a really good clamp. I was using this just to tack it, but I would not suggest that to weld. I just ground off this tab, and I'm gonna use that for my ground. Once the hoop is on the cage and there's tubing, it's way easier to ground. You can just clamp the tubing, but make sure you clean it good, and make sure you clean, like this metal isn't clean. You have to grind that stuff off. So I'm gonna try and weld this stuff, see how it comes out, and yeah, hopefully it works. Alright, I'm going to add this to the video because it just happened to me. Make sure you guys are cautious of anything underneath the vehicle, because I was just putting a lot of heat into the floor, building up for one of the gaps, and a nylon, like a wire loom type thing, just caught on fire. So make sure you're careful of that. There is actually fuel lines next to it. Luckily there's no gas in the car, but still dangerous. So make sure you watch out for that and have a fire extinguisher or water handy, because that can happen. But as you can see, we're getting around the plate. Got the whole back edge welded. If you notice, I think you'll be able to see, I'm holding the phone backwards, but there is like this white stuff still burning off. But it is burning pretty good, and this was actually, oh, excuse me, what I was most worried about was welding these, because on my 240, I didn't really prep it enough, which was the biggest problem. But I just kept blowing through, and I had it up too high. But this time we're doing good, so I'm gonna get back to you guys when this is all done. Plate welded in. There's a couple little spots I wish I could have done a little bit better. With that said, I still think they're perfectly strong enough. I'm gonna show them to you guys right now. Oh shit, almost fell over. So here they are, all welded in. These were a little bit of a, it looks like super ugly right now on camera, but these were a little bit pain in the ass to fill in these gaps. That edge I feel like came out pretty decent. The back edge came out pretty decent. This edge was coming out really good. And then like there wasn't really a gap down here, but I like ran just a straight bead, and that looks like so dumb. I just shouldn't have done that. I really fucked up the look of that one. But otherwise, she's in there, she's solid. I'm actually really happy with how it came out. My last roll cage, I feel like I just didn't do enough prep work. Like, I really had more time to prep the metal this time, and the welder welded. Last time I was fighting it. So I'm having a good feeling about this. I have to clean up the other side now and weld that plate in, then fit this behemoth right here. So I finished up the base plates. I just got dressed to go out, so that's why I look like this. I forgot to film this while I was still in here working on the car. But both base plates are burned in. This one gave me a little bit of trouble. Turns out the nozzle and the gun started to clog up. Once I cleared it, it was fine. I also have used the harness bar to spread this thing out so it's actually touching here and touching there, and it sits way more on the edge. But that's about how I think I'm gonna do it. Tomorrow we're gonna grind that up. I'm gonna take the roof and put it on. It shouldn't interfere with anything, the bar being like that, but I'm just gonna make sure. The only thing I'm really worried about is the halo bar appears to be super close to my helmet, thereabout, but I'm gonna sit in this with my helmet on clearly before we finalize anything. But if need be, I can do the same thing I'm doing with this main hoop and spread it out. Alright, so I have the main hoop in the car exactly where I wanted it. I use this little thing, which you can also get at Harbor Freight. It's just an angle finder to tell me that we're at about 100 degrees for the layback. It's got a slight little layback. So we're gonna cut that into the main hoop. We'll try and use that. But I'm not really trying to take away any height. So I want to just cut the angle and like leave that front edge as untouched as possible. So I'm going to try and do that now. In the saw, I actually used this on the fence to make sure it was the right angle so that it was perfect. This is still set to the angle of the cage. Now what I'm going to do is to make sure that this cut is on the right plane, like perpendicular to the tube. It makes sense to me, but I'm going to use this angle finder. These are pretty cheap. I suggest you have one if you're working with tubes. Stick it on there. We're actually right about at 90, but we have to check and see what the saw's at. So the saw's like a degree off. So we're just gonna turn this until it's also a degree off. Which actually I would say that's about right. And then it's a little bit, I suggest honestly you have 2 people to cut this. It's kind of an act of God that it's balancing, but we're gonna try and chop it. Alright, so we got the pretty tight fitting cage. Okay, you can fit your finger on either side. It's just tacked down here right now. So, you know, I had to move it back. You can see I tacked it there. Then I had to move it back because of, as you can see like this extra layer right here, that little like rollover, it kept pushing the tube forward when I would hammer the bar down to spread it. So I had to take it up just a little bit, redo it. I welded that right there, which is literally right to the chassis. And I just tacked it down here. I'm not gonna go final yet. This way it just shouldn't want to pivot. Other side, same thing. Weld it up there. Now I'm gonna have to do these rearward bars, and I'm gonna show you guys exactly how they want them to go. Ignore that bar, we're gonna take that out once it's fully welded because I don't want to take it off and that little bit of pressure break the tacks. But anyway, the way they have these rearward bars going is something like this, like they made up there, of course, go through the speaker holes, and these are bent. I'm not really worried about it. Alright, so we got all the stuff cleaned out, and the plates cleaned up on the edges. The middle's not too clean yet. We're gonna clean it where the tube lands, but it's ready to go in. So I skipped some of the process for you guys, but these plates did end up fitting in pretty good. They have a couple hammer marks, but when the tubes get welded on, it won't matter. So they're both in there. as you can see, fully welded in. Looking back, maybe I should have just went flat and did like a little filler piece of metal, but I feel like, you know, it doesn't really matter. This worked out. So I have had a change of faith, or whatever you call it. I'm gonna do straight rear bars. When I originally looked at this, I thought that the rear bars would have to go through this, and I didn't want to do that because, like you can see, there's multiple layers, and it would be hard for me to make that look clean. But I looked again, and it will shoot just in that little crack right there. So all that work I did yesterday, making those two rear bars identical and fit, even though they still needed a little bit more work, was pretty much useless. So we are going to get two fresh pieces out of our stock here, notch them and cut them. The angle's going to be really hard to cut because it's going to be like such a long cut. My chop saw won't do it, so I'm going to have to use my like a hand angle grinder, and I hate doing that. But anyway, I'm probably going to use these bars here, hopefully, as door bars, and I'll show you guys that later, so that way we don't have to waste that metal. It's not really I didn't show you guys much of the process, but I got both rear bars made and fit up, and they fit identical. They fit good. Got the notches cut up top. So I'm gonna get the welder now, get them tacked in, and then we're gonna start welding this cage in. Alright, so the cage is fully welded on the back half. We have to make a new harness bar. That is like where the harness bar actually falls. Like that's exactly where it would land. So we're gonna have to make a new one, obviously. Use that one for somewhere else, maybe for the diagonal, maybe not, but I'm gonna go through the tubing, see what'll fit. I'm probably gonna use that tube and then use this old harness bar and one of these to make the diagonal. So we're gonna try that now. Using that thing to notch a lot, and this thing, it's not perfect, especially since it's 1/8 of an inch too small, but with the flap disc, it cleans up pretty well. Make sure you buy a couple of these if you're gonna be doing a lot, because they get chewed up. It's still good enough to do some passes, but we got the harness bar made. So yeah, I just measured on the insides, notched it. It's fitting pretty good, so and I am going to weld it in, and hopefully she's all good. I'm gonna double check, make sure it's square, then we're gonna weld it in, and then probably work on the diagonal. I'm really nervous about that, but we're gonna try. All right, so I have failed at filming once again, but I'm doing the last I'm gonna do on the cage tonight. Before I go inside, I downloaded Forza, so I'm trying to play some Forza Horizon 4, but I have started on the diagonal. This bar is completely tacked in and notched and ready, and it looks pretty freaking good to me. Like, I think that looks good. So we're gonna work on the other half. I already got this end notched. I just have to find the angle, notch the other side, and fit it, the kind of hard part. So I'm gonna try and do that right now. All right, so we got the other tube made. I haven't even welded it in yet. It's just sitting there, but I'm gonna double check that they line up good. Look at it, make sure they're on the same plane, you know, they're straight. But super actually pumped that it came out like that. I never would have guessed that I could do that. So pretty excited. Actually really hyped to weld these in and get some good welds out there in the open. So I'm gonna double check that it's straight and then burn these in, and we're gonna call it a night. All right guys, so that wraps up for this video. I have completed the diagonal in the main hoop. As you can see, I'm actually really, like I said, I'm really proud of that. I think it came out killer. I managed to get my tube notcher up and working, which is what really helped finish the main hoop as well as I did, because This thing has like degrees on it, and I can match it perfectly. It makes great notches. If you notice, I had to weld this on. The like arbor for the notcher stripped out. So I'm probably gonna need to get a new notcher, but it should finish up with this cage, you know. But in the future, I'm gonna need a new one. Anyway, I could leave it just like that, but we're gonna be doing diagonals, or at least one tube. I really want to do an X in the rear bars, but we're at least gonna do one diagonal like the hoop, but in the rear bar. But like I said, I'm trying to do an X. If I'm too incompetent to do an X, we won't do an X. But after the X, we're gonna move on to the roof, which I'm super excited for, to have the full cage. Not super excited to do base plates again, but you know, it's part of it. So that's about it, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.